Two out of three ain't bad. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis, Barrett Brooks will be joining us momentarily, and certainly big show today, a show that we are really excited for. That's for sure. And joining us as he has before, friend of the show, and does an incredible job. Correspondent for the NFL, reporter, writer extraordinaire, the one and only. And you can see that brilliant book of the Philly special behind him, Sal Paolantonio. What's happening, Sal Pal?
Rob, I'm doing pretty good. We're week 10 in the National Football League. This is where, as Ron Jaworski always likes to say, the rubber meets the road. We're playing November football. So, and the Eagles are 8-0, an historic season. Really excited about the last 2 months of the season. I really am.
No question. I mean, how can't you be, Sal, with the way this is set up so far this year and the improvement you've seen with this team? But I know for you personally, you're always sort of forecasting. You're in the moment, but you're looking ahead a little bit and you're trying to follow the trends, what teams are doing what. And I know you love doing your bold predictions as well, but give me a sense of, let's have a little fun here. We can do this. Okay. The team's got to concentrate week to week, but who you think it could be the big meeting here in Phoenix, Arizona, when it all counts for all the marbles, as they say?
Well, that will be my 30th Super Bowl, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Oh, my God.
So I just made a bold prediction. I sent it to D Gunn during the week for ESPN.com, asked me to make my bold prediction for the end of the season. And I got a one-word answer from D Gunn. Wow. I love this. I love this. He said, so I originally had, Rob, the Bills and the Eagles in the Super Bowl, but now with Josh Allen's elbow injury, which is really problematic, I think the Chiefs. So I'm looking for Andy Reid, the ghost of Christmas past, against those Philadelphia Eagles in Arizona in the Super Bowl.
I'll reiterate that. Wow.
Okay.
That would be a shootout.
Oh my God, the storyline, Sal.
Yes. Right. So Rob, even though I may be wrong, you have to root for the best story for yourself,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Right.
So you did mention Philly special. So clearly I'll have to write the sequel if the Eagles beat Andy Reid in the Super Bowl, right?
Yes. I love it. That's all. Hey, look, it's not improbable, right? And you're right. I mean, the Josh Allen thing is a very big deal, but Sal, I'm amazed at what Andy's been able to do. I thought he should take some time off after the Eagles, but man, that guy just keeps rolling. It's incredible. It really is. But I want to start with the Eagles here from your standpoint. Earlier, a couple weeks ago, we would always say, oh, it's the Bills, it's the Chiefs, it's the Eagles. Can we throw that out now? I mean, are the Eagles now the team to beat in your estimation, or is it still the AFC teams?
No, I think you have to carve it up AFC and NFC. Okay. We're still in week 10. They are 8-0. They are playing an NFC East divisional opponent on Monday Night Football in the Washington Commanders. They have to dispatch them now and, sweep the series. And, all indications are they will. So let's look at where the Eagles are within the big picture of the NFC and the NFL as a whole. So right now, going into week 10, Rob, there have been 75 one-score games. We are in a one-score league in the National Football League. And there have been 75 games decided by 7 points or less. That's an NFL record.
Wow.
Jesus.
So we're in a one-score league, except if you play in Eagles Green, right? They've only played 2 games that have been one-score games, at Detroit and at Arizona. And they had the second highest point differential at home. The Bills have the highest, so the Eagles have the highest in the NFC. If you're going to knock this team off at home, you really have to come with your total A game, and you got to hit them hard early and surprise them, and then hold on late. And I don't really see any team doing that. Really, I mean, I don't see the Washington Commanders doing that. I don't see the Titans doing that. I don't see the Packers doing that. I certainly don't see the Giants doing that. I think the Eagles remain undefeated at home. That's, to me, is the big picture because they're playing so well at home. I talked to Nick Sirianni before the game, usually about 40 minutes to an hour before the game. I've done it like 4 or 5 times this year. And I always like to ask him message to the team, either the night before. You've seen me either put it on Instagram or talk about it on ESPN. It's kind of my calling card. People people kind of look forward to it and they say, oh, yeah, it's the formula. Okay, whatever. But the point is, I want to know what the coach, Barrett, come on, you want to know what the coach is saying to the players,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. You want to hear the message.
You want to hear the message. What was the speech like? What did he say? And he always says to me two things. I told the team we got to win the turnover battle and we got to win the explosive play battle, the two double positives. And right now the Eagles are on a historic pace for turnover battle. Mm-hmm. They lead the league in turnover ratio and takeaways. Yep. And get this, Rob, the Eagles lead the NFL in explosive plays on offense per game. Mm-hmm. That's the first. They've never done that before. They didn't do it under Doug. They didn't do it under Andy this late in the season. They lead the NFL. Explosive plays are defined as runs of 10 yards or more, passes of 20 yards or more, and the Eagles lead the NFL going into the week 10. Wow. That's amazing to me.
Wow.
Absolutely. It's almost like
Sal bringing it, man, right out of the
I know. See, Sal, you bring up the fact that you think the Eagles are almost unbeatable at home, but you look at the rest of their schedule. Can they run the table and put some heat on that 72 Dolphins perfect season?
That's a long way, right?
I know. Oh, I know.
I know. You know, so we haven't been professional athletes. Barrett has. And, you know, it's hard for me to sit here, and I would never, you know, predict that a team is going to go undefeated because I know each NFL game is a car wreck. It's like 20 car wrecks.
Yep.
So, anything could happen. Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood right now. Anything could happen because you got 20 car wrecks every week, each and every week. So you got to hold on for dear life in terms of remaining healthy as a football team, and especially at the quarterback position. So we see quarterbacks go down all the time in the NFL, which Josh Allen, he hit his hand. He got a ball knocked out of his hand. I was at that game last week, and now he's dealing with an elbow injury, and that changes the whole approach of their team for the season. So that's the number one thing. But if they stay healthy, and I think that they can, and I think the reason is very simple. You got two coaches' sons running the show, right? And, you know, Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are pushing one another. They're both sons of coaches. And when you have sons of coaches like that, they've been hearing it their whole life since they were 5 years
That's
old.
Right. That's right.
Week to right, Barrett?
Yeah.
Week to week. You got to grind this out. Don't tell me what you did last week. Don't tell me what you're going to do this week. Tell me that's all Jalen is about. That's all Nick is about. They put it up on the wall. Yep. Right, the here and now. They put it up on the wall. It's called the dog mentality, DAWG. And they both subscribe to it. And it has become addictive in their own locker room.
Well, you know, just in saying that, you know, you can see how they're starting to protect. A colleague of mine wrote an article day before yesterday about how they've changed how Jalen's game is being formulated now. You know, they're running him a lot less. They always have it in their hip pocket. He can always pull it out, but they're playing a little more drop back quarterback. And, you know, he's able to do that. So, I mean, you look at that. Is he up there with the MVP race still? I mean, is he number one right now for you or number two?
He gets my vote.
Yeah.
Mine too. Mine also. I mean, it's 8-0. He has to be the guy.
Right. If your team's undefeated and you're the starting quarterback, you're the MVP. I mean, we don't really need to explain that. That's period, paragraph, move on to the next topic. Right? I mean, come on.
But Sal, how about that? Done. That's
next.
It.
Yeah, next.
But it is amazing when you think about, not that we didn't know the work ethic was there and the coach mentality, son mentality, but his ascension, man. It has been pretty remarkable. And I think there's a lot of credit that goes around. They got him A.J. Brown, which clearly helped. They have Nick Sirianni. He's in the system for a second straight year. But this dude is a worker, man.
And I think that's the number one reason why they're 8-0. Going undefeated halfway through the season is not easy. The Eagles have never been 8-0 in their franchise history. So that tells you right there, it's not easy. It's not easy trying to figure out week in and week out. It's a very competitive league. But it's the mentality that you have. and that is driven by Jalen Hurts and by Nick Sirianni. And so they're the only team in the NFL in the top 5 right now in points scored and points allowed.
Yeah.
Sal, can you put in its proper perspective the job Sirianni has done with this team and how they've bought into him?
Well, not only is Jalen the MVP, but Nick Sirianni at the midway point is the coach of the year. No question in my mind, and he will get my vote 100%. So what Nick has done, I think, is Derek, he set it on early in March. Jalen Hurts comes out of the playoff game with a busted up ankle, has surgery the following week. And there were a lot of question marks swirling around the city. Mm-hmm. Is he the guy? Can he lead this team? And I have to give Sirianni and Harry Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie a lot of credit. We're all in, and they had a detour. They sniffed around the whole Deshaun Watson thing, and smartly they decided not to do that. Yep. They decided not to do that for a lot of different reasons. And, thank goodness they didn't. So they went all in on him and decided, okay, we're gonna do this. And if we're going to do it, we're going to do it the right way. So they missed on Justin Jefferson. They missed on Metcalf. They missed on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So they had to go out and get him a number 1 receiver. And the Titans wound up deciding they weren't going to pay him. So they got A.J. Brown. And I think that is one of the top, in my view, and I've covered the team since 1993. So I think it's one of the top moves this franchise has ever made in terms of free agency. Ever.
You're right.
Hard to argue. Who would you say, Sal, is the biggest threat in the NFC? Is it in division? Is it the Giants, Cowboys? Is it the Niners kind of lurking there a little bit? Does Brady resurrect? What are your thoughts on the conference?
So you never want to play Brady, right? Yeah. you just don't. Mm-hmm. It's hard to kill him. Yeah. It's hard to put him down. And you saw that with the Rams last week. I think the Niners are scary. They lead the league in points allowed.
I agree.
They have a championship defense.
Yep.
So I actually have the Niners at the Eagles in the championship game.
Okay. Wow.
Well, what happened to those teams like the Rams, Tampa Bay? They're ascending back up a little bit, but Green Bay. I mean, what is going on in Green Bay? I mean, how are they going downhill like that?
All right, let's start with the Rams. Let's start with the Super Bowl champs, right, Barrett? That's the obvious place to start. Mm-hmm. They lost Whitworth. He retired. That was huge. Huge. Hey, Barrett, I'm preaching to the choir. Offensive line, Barrett. You don't got
starts in the trenches.
No, come on. You don't got an offensive line. Forget about it. Look with Joe Burrow, sacked 77 times in the Super Bowl. Sacked 7 times in the Super Bowl, 70 overall. He was 3 points away from winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy.
Crazy, right? You got to have an O-line. So it starts there. Von Miller bolts, no OBJ. And so Stafford had elbow problems all throughout the summer. There's your reason. Mm-hmm. Packers, the reason's in Las Vegas.
You're right, Adams.
Right? So, Aaron Rodgers decided to get paid, and there was no money left. And so they had to trade Adams, and now he's been searching for months for an offense, for a passing game. So nobody can get open. So he's back there holding it, and he's getting sacked. He's getting hit. Old guys don't like to get sacked and hit.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. And he's telling him about it too. He's telling him about it.
Yeah, he's telling him, right. So that's Packers, and the Bucs. Like I said, I have tremendous respect for Todd Bowles. In the end, with those 2 linebackers and Brady, for me, if I'm the Eagles, I don't want to be playing the Bucs in the playoffs. I just don't. I just don't. But I agree with D. Gunn. I think it's the Niners that are the biggest threat in the AFC to the Eagles. And
they laughed at me, Sal, when I said that. They laughed at me. And I'm telling you, I'm just kidding. But I think the addition of McCaffrey has given that offense a boost if he can stay healthy. Him with Deebo Samuels and George Kittle and Garoppolo, I don't put him in the echelon of being a great quarterback, but I think he's a great manager of an offense. And that's a dangerous combination because that defense is nasty. They're bullies. That's a bully defense.
Yeah, it's very different from the Eagles. The Eagles play a matchup zone defense.
Yep.
They're not going to bully you. They're going to be smarter than you. And they got a really smart defense and a defensive coordinator who has all the pieces now, of course, without Jordan Davis, to play matchup zone, to play, the Vic Fangio defense, which is what he wants to play.
Hey, Sal, what in the world is going on in Indianapolis? I think when you talk about major embarrassments in the National Football League, you start with the Washington Commanders. And I think right now Indianapolis is number 2 in terms of what has happened to that organization.
So we play next.
Yeah. I think it starts with the fact that they haven't been able to figure out the quarterback position, and that dysfunction has trickled down. Everything gets solved if you have a quarterback. If you don't, then everything is up in the air. So I think that's the bottom line. And now he's, really thinking outside the box and hiring my former colleague and good friend, Jeff Saturday. So, I mean, it's an outside the box move. It smells of desperation. No disrespect to Jeff Saturday, but it smells of it's like, okay, how in the world can I get people to keep coming to Lucas Oil Stadium, right? My team is bad. I got Sam Erlinger playing quarterback. I can't score against the Patriots on the road. I got to have bodies in the building. What do I do? Well, I tell the feel-good story of Jeff Saturday, and that's a good feel-good story, but I don't know how many football games it's going to win you.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
But it is the entertainment business. You got to put fannies in the seats, man.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I don't fault him for hiring Jeff Saturday, but it's definitely an entertainment and desperation move, and we'll see if it works out football-wise, and I hope it does. I wish all the success in the world to Jeff Saturday.
Sal, if you stay there in the AFC, are you buying the Jets and the Dolphins? You believing it?
Well, I've seen both teams twice this year, Rob. I just saw the Jets beat the Bills. And I got a really good perspective because I was in the ESPN radio booth as the analyst with Steve Levy calling the game. So when you get that kind of perspective, it's kind of cool and different. Yeah. And the Jets front seven, even though Sheldon Rankins is now out with an injury for about 6-8 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, Rob, the front seven is mean. It's a mean front seven.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they are.
I just don't think
they can play. They can play. They can play.
Believe it.
So listen, I got their game next week. I am not going to Indy. I am going to Foxborough, and I want to see if because I expect the Eagles just roll through Indy. Again, I hate to make predictions like that, but I want to see if the Jets can go on the road and beat the boogeyman, Bill Belichick.
Well, you're speaking of the boogeyman. I mean, the boogeyman pulled off a big win last week. Are you buying that the Patriots are a threat to anybody in the AFC, the heavyweights in the AFC?
I think down in the end, no.
Okay.
Can't beat Baltimore. Can't beat Kansas City. Can't beat Buffalo. Probably loses to Cincinnati, right? Well, who am I leaving out? Probably lose to Miami, right, Rob? Yeah.
Who's always
probably
giving them
lose
problems.
To Miami.
Yeah. They've always given them a hard time.
So
I would say that you hit them all, I think, right there. Maybe, I don't know, Chargers, but I don't know if I'm completely in on them either. But, yeah, I think you hit them all.
Do you think that the Giants' whole, mantra is gone now? That everybody's figured them out. And from this point on, you think they'll be able to still compete at that level they were the first 5-6 weeks?
Well, they're coming off the bye and they got a major injury on defense. The guy got into an
Xavier
accident.
McKinney. Yeah,
McKinney. Yeah.
Yeah, he got into an accident, unfortunately. I hope he comes back soon. He's a good dude. And they got the defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale. They lead the NFL in blitz percentage.
Yeah. Yep.
They're the only team over 40%, Rob.
Yeah, they're not
They're
afraid.
the only team over 40%. The Eagles are actually, you know what? The Eagles have bumped up the last couple of weeks. They're now at 25%, which is the highest they've ever been under Gannon.
Wow.
That's crazy.
You know, I think it wasn't pass blitz. They were run blitzes to stop the run. So, you know, it's a lot different from the pass blitzing. They were run blitzing, try to heal the bleeding the last 2 weeks with them trying to stop the run. Teams have been running on them, so they have to, you know, so.
Well, that's smart. I mean, they got to. So, you know, if we're looking at the deficient, you know, potential roadblocks or potholes for the Eagles, I would say clearly you can't have a rookie running back run all over you like they did in Houston. That's got to be fixed. I think
absolutely.
I think it comes to tackling. I think it comes back to what Barrett was saying. Are you blitzing enough on rundowns? In other words, are you putting 8 guys in the box, and are you shooting the gaps and trying to create penetration? The number one enemy of the run game is penetration to the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely,
we all know that, right? So, you know, they play gap and a half defense. Are they going to play single gap defense where they just are, you know, trying to get as much penetration on obvious rundowns? Because they do have the secondary where you can be a little bit more risky.
Yep.
So that's number one. I would say going back to number two, the piece that you referenced, Barrett, if you're going to play action, 5 and 7 step drops for Jalen, and play the deep ball game, you better do a better job of protecting them than you have in the last 2 games. I thought against Pittsburgh right after the bye, when they rolled out this different offense, that he got hit too much in the pocket.
Yes, he did. That's Mailata. He's got to come to work. Mailata's got to play better. He's been getting beat the last 2 weeks like a drum. So he knows he has to change. I don't know what it is. He, you know, maybe gain a couple of LBs, or he's just not playing explosive. You got to play explosive. So is he injured? He better get right, get playing well quick, because they need him. They really need him.
Well, that's one thing. I think Jalen's got to get rid of the ball quicker.
I think
he's got to see it and throw it, see it and rip it, grip it and rip it.
There you go.
He's got to grip it and rip it. I mean, you know, it's got to. He's been very good at that this year. His snap to release was over 3 seconds last year. It was last in the league of all starting quarterbacks, and this year it's been about 2.2, 2.25. And it's gone up in the last couple of weeks. So I watched that because that's something that was a point of emphasis that was pounded into him this summer by the quarterback coaches that he saw out in California. Just grip it and rip it.
Sal, I'm surprised you, in all your dissertations, that you haven't mentioned the Cowboys as a possible threat. I've said that they have the quickest front 7 on the snap in the entire league. Dak is back. But are you buying what the Cowboys have been selling at this point?
See, I have it in my contract. I don't have to really talk about the Cowboys.
Amen. Amen. Can we all get that in our contracts out, please? Can you negotiate that for each and every one of us? Thank you.
That's why we have Ed Werder, baby. I pray to the ESPN gods that Ed Werder is my colleague forever. And he does a great job covering the Dallas Cowboys, and so does Todd Archer. But no, I didn't mention them, and it was by omission, not on purpose. You know, they are in the top 5 in points allowed in the league. And to me, it's like in baseball. Team ERA is always the determining factor in who wins the World Series. Always. It's like a very rare that it's not. The last 20 World Series, you look it up. If you're number 1 in team ERA, you rarely lose the World Series. And points allowed is the number 1 determining factor in who wins the Super Bowl. It's never points scored. It's always points allowed. More teams have won the Super Bowl who have better points allowed than points scored. So Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, Bills. Let's see. I wrote it down. Here we go. Bills are number 1 at 14.8. Yep. Denver, they're not going anywhere at 16.5. If they had a quarterback, they'd be pretty good. Well, they do have one. He's just not playing well.
He doesn't resemble the guy we used to know.
No, Rob. Cowboys are number 3 at 16.5 points per game. Eagles are right behind them at 16.9.
Yep.
And the Bucks are at 18.2. So as you know, Rob, if you're 17 and under, right? 17, that was the magic number. And Barrett, you're going to remember this. This is what Jim Johnson always used to say. Listen, you just keep it under 17 points, and we'll win the football game, right?
I keep telling these guys, I told them 17 is the magic number. Remember, guy, I keep saying this every day. 17 is the magic number for defensive coordinators. And Jimmy said, if you keep it on 17, we'll win the game.
Absolutely. He used to say, Sal Pal, we're gonna break down the protection, and we're gonna protect the house.
That's it.
That was it.
That is it.
That was the whole defensive philosophy, scheme, approach, tactics, everything.
It worked pretty well. That's for sure.
It did.
Sal, last one
God
for
rest
me.
his soul. He was great.
Oh, he was the best. He was absolute. People forget he was a quarterback at Missouri in college. It's crazy to think.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Steichen Gannon, hotter coaching candidate, you think, heading into next year? Good problems for the Eagles if people are plucking your staff. I get it, but who would you say is hotter right now?
Well, Gannon had those interviews last year, right, Rob? In Houston. Going from lieutenant to colonel or general is tough to do.
You know, you're a Navy man. Yes.
Yeah, I always use those military terms because you want your head coach to be the general of the team. He's the field general, and you have lieutenants who do all the chores. Put together the game plan, have the meetings, and call the plays. You want to have the big picture in your head, and that's why I always liked the idea that Sirianni gave it up last year.
Right.
I liked that, and he came under quite a bit of scrutiny for that. Not criticism, but like, what are we doing here? How come he's not calling the plays? Well, it turned out to be a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Gannon, just because of last year. He got a couple of interviews. But the way that Jalen Hurts has turned into an MVP candidate like that, I think Steichen's going to get a lot of interviews.
Yep, makes a lot of sense. Sal, listen, remind everybody, where are you this weekend? Where can we see you? Which game do you have?
I'll be at the confluence of the Schuylkill Expressway and I-95 in South Philadelphia.
Okay. We know where that is. Yes.
In the concrete jungle down there.
Okay.
Monday Night Football, we got the ESPNs on Monday Night Football's on ESPN. We're gonna throw a big fat Eagles party down there, so I will be for that. I'll be there for that.
I like it.
The NFL matchup show, if you don't mind me mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NFL matchup show is on ESPN2 on Saturday morning and ESPN on Sunday morning, and we have a new guy on. Is Darius Butler, who played 9 years in the NFL, and he's been terrific. And of course, everybody here knows the great work done by Greg Cosell. And we've got a piece on Eagles Commanders that will be in the show that I think people will really enjoy. So I'll be doing that, and then hey, when your hometown team is 9-10-0, you're not going anywhere.
Hey, that's a beautiful thing, right?
Exactly.
You're not going anywhere. You're settling in for the wife's lasagna, and you're sleeping in your own bed, and it's a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life.
We'll be right over. We're very hungry, Sal. So don't worry about that. Always insightful, Sal. We love catching up with you, and thank you. Appreciate you giving us a couple minutes today.
Thank you, man.
I really appreciate it, man. I miss you too, man, because I used to be his producer, for like 3 years, working on a matchup show with him. He said, Barry, what do you think of this? And I go find what he was talking about. Appreciate it. So I did that for like 2.5, 3 years for Sal. Appreciate it every time.
Sal, it's all your fault that Barrett's turned into the megastar that he is. We can blame you.
He had megastar written all over him right from the beginning.
Thanks,
Sal,
man. Appreciate
it. You have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, you got it. ESPN national correspondent. Man, Sal brings it. Right out of the chute, he was firing stuff.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
Explosive play numbers, everything. I love it.
There you go.
See, I like it when you learn things when you talk to people, right?
Exactly.
And I learn things from you guys every day, but when our guests, when we learn things, little kernels and little nuggets here and there.
Absolutely.
To me, that's what it's all about. And that's why you have guests on, frankly.
Exactly.
That's for sure. All right, we'll get a quickie here, guys. When we come back, we will keep talking birds. We'll keep talking birds, NFL. We'll play a little Did You Know NFL. I'll fire some stuff at you guys.
All right, here we go.
See if we get your the curiosity going. You want
so we're about to learn something, right?
We are about to learn. It's learning today, Derek. School is in session.
Learned that I don't know. That's what you're gonna learn.
I always say I'm just smart enough to know how dumb I am. That's when anybody asks me. So that's
I use that all the time.
Yeah, amen. Amen. All right, quick timeout. Come back. We keep it rolling with the football talk. A little later, Al Morgani, who's going into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and then of course Brian Mitchell. If we get any word on what's happening with the Washington Commanders, we'll pass that down as well. Don't go anywhere. Barrett Brooks, Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right, Pro Action Restoration. Pro Action Restoration. If you got a home, you got a business, you have a property that's gone through the pain and the suffering of water, fire, smoke, mold damage, you know how trying that can be, right? They are the people that you call. Pro Action Restoration is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I can tell you from personal experience, it happened to me on a Saturday. I called them. The crew got right out there. They diagnosed the problem. They fixed it. They cleaned everything up. The price was reasonable. The crew was unbelievable. And they will help you as well. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. Again, it could be any of the above. Water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it. They can handle it all. Or if you're not really sure, just give them a call and get a consultation. 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
It's a fall car fest.